I'm just glad to see so many people here today in person. And thank those who are online for being online. And before we start, I'm going to give my co-chair, Senator Marks, an opportunity to say good morning if she will. She's on.
Good morning, everybody. I'm on Zoom today. I do just want to give a really huge shout out to all of the staff. I am it's been 2 months now, so impressed with your professionalism, your wealth of knowledge, your kindness, your patience, and I just can't say enough about how much I appreciate you. So thank you all.
Ranking members, Representative Val.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I like to echo the remarks of Senator Marks. The staff on this committee is phenomenal, very dependable, knowledgeable, and you're truly appreciated. So I'd like to echo those remarks and just I enjoyed again working on this committee and with the new leadership. It's been fun to get to know everybody better and to work to try to do good things for our veterans here in the state. So thank you.
Thank you, Representative Val. Senator Maroney, are you on? No. Representative Co-Chair Vice Chair Delaney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to caveat off of the ranking members and Chair Marks. I'd like to thank the staff, and I noticed that Major Heineman is here today. Thank you for your service, sir, and thank you for being here with us.
Senator Gordon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's good to see everybody. Sorry I can't be there in person, but I'm there as best as I can virtual. And I do want to echo what everyone has said about the staff. I appreciate the work they do, but I also appreciate the work that all of my fellow legislators do as well in this committee. So I look forward to a hopefully productive meeting today. Thank you.
And I'm going to give an opportunity for any other members to say good morning if you would like, or we can move on. Anybody online? No? All right. So we'll move on, getting to the first bill, which is going to be SB 634, an act concerning municipal veteran services. Do we have any questions in regards to this bill? No. All right. So just so people have a little understanding, this bill increases from 8 to 10 the number of veteran service officers with the Department of Veteran Affairs, Office of Advocacy and Assistance. It requires at least 2 of these service officers to be responsible for overseeing and supporting municipalities' compliance with the laws and requirements for municipal service representatives. This bill is important because we want to ensure that our municipalities are making sure that they make services available and have connections with our veterans in our municipalities. So that is one of the strong reasons for this bill. And move to
A motion to JF to appropriations.
okay, there's been a motion to JF to appropriations. All those in favor?
Second.
Hold on. Moment.
Yes.
So can you have them withdraw their motion so I can make a motion to start the consent calendar?
Okay. Chairwoman Marks, do you mind withdrawing your motion for one?
Yep. Who requested that, Chair?
Representative Val.
Okay. I withdraw my motion to JF to appropriations.
Thank you. Representative Val.
Thank you. Just a brief comment. I think this is an important bill, needed, and that we've talked about this for years, and this committee has really taken on this task this year. And the reason, my understanding, the reason it will be going to our appropriations is because we're asking for two new employees, and we'd be funding that. So that's the reason why it's being JF to appropriations. Is that correct?
You are correct, Representative.
All right. I fully support this bill, and I recommend that I make a motion to start a consent agenda
Oh, there's been a motion to start.
and that we place this on it.
There's been a motion to start a consent agenda. Can I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Motion to move this to the consent agenda.
Well, yes, apologies, Mr. Chair.
I-
So since the motion was withdrawn to JF, now that the consent calendar has been created, we need to have a new motion to JF, the first bill.
Yeah.
and
This
then
is
consent.
Senator Marks, a motion to JF to appropriations.
There's been a motion to JF to appropriations. All those in favor?
Aye.
Seconded by Representative Delaney. All those in favor?
I'd like to make a motion.
Oh, goodness.
I'd like to move this to the consent calendar.
Okay, move to the consent calendar without objection. So moved. Woo. All right, for our next bill. Not concerning SB 638, and not concerning a fee waiver at public institutions of higher education for certain veterans and members of the National Guard.
Motion to JF to the floor.
Okay, it's been motioned to JF to the floor. All those in favor?
Second.
Is there a second? And I got it right in front of me too. Is there a second? It's been seconded. Any discussion?
I would move to add that to the consent agenda, Senate Bill 638.
Okay, there's without objections, we'll move it to the consent agenda. So moved. SB 642, and act crediting military training and experience towards certain licenses related to subsurface sewage disposal systems. There is a change to that. Let's see.
A motion to JF to the floor for LCO 5621.
Okay. It's JFS to the floor.
Yes.
Let's see, LCO. LCO number 5621.
So moved.
Okay. Yeah, let's move. Yeah. So there's a motion to JFS it to the floor. All those in favor?
Mr. Chairman, this is Senator Gordon.
Yes, sir.
Just this evidently is a completely changed bill. Are we doing this by voice vote or are we going to be doing this by roll call?
Point of orders,
Yes, ma'am.
before we have discussion, we have to have a second on Representative Vale made the motion to JFS. Senator Marks made the motion to JF. She has to either change her motion or she can second Representative Vale's motion to JFS. Senate Bill 642, LCO 5621. So somebody has to figure that component
So
out.
I actually did say JFS to the floor with, I read it right from it. I just talk fast and I have a funny accent, but how about if I make the motion and Rep. Fail, will you make the second?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, now we can have discussion.
Any discussion? Senator Gordon?
Just asking, since this is a completely changed bill, is my understanding the title has nothing to do anymore with what the bill actually says. Is that correct? Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I don't know what the rest of the folks want to do. Are we going to add, is the motion to add this to the consent agenda? I just wanted to make certain I heard this correctly.
We have not done that yet, sir.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you.
All right. Yes, sir. I can. SB number 642, an act. It is being changed to a bill to establish a process by which someone. I'm sorry, that's not the right one. 1 second. It's a bill requiring us to establish a working group for the upkeep of veterans' graves. It's a working group. Bill.
Wait, what?
You should have received it this morning in your summary.
I'd like to withdraw my motion to JFS this to the floor,
Okay,
and I have comments.
okay. So Representative Vale withdraws his motion to JFS this to the floor. Do I have another motion?
Sorry, Representative Nolan, Representative Vale did not make the motion. He made the second. So we need a new second.
You'll second it?
I withdraw my second.
Okay. Representative Delaney, did you say you will second it?
I second it.
Okay, so it's seconded. Discussion?
All right, so what is this? Where's this language that I haven't received?
In your OLR summary, in the bottom, substitute language replaces the bill's existing language and instead establishes a 7-member working group to develop a process by which deceased veteran family members can submit concerns regarding the upkeep of deceased graves.
Well, I couldn't oppose this bill more vehemently. The number one, we have a process which we go through, which I've been a part of as being part of the leadership team on this committee. And to take one bill, which we had a bill for this, and put it in here on this bill, which has nothing to do with an act crediting military training and experience towards certain licenses and related to subsurface sewage disposal systems, has nothing to do with cemeteries whatsoever. This is an egregious abuse of our procedure. I want to actually make a point of order that the language in the underlying language is not germane to this bill.
Okay.
You know,
Anything further?
well, yeah, they made a point of order.
Mike?
So I will advise that our office, legislative commissioner's office, we are not parliamentarians. We don't issue rulings or judgments on procedure. Joint Rule 5C does have a provision that states that any questions of order or procedure are to be addressed by way of a majority vote. So if that is how the committee would like to proceed with addressing the question of germaneness.
Well, thank you for that. So I guess what we could do is just vote on the bill because it's going to have the same result either way than taking 2 votes. But I find this, especially as a ranking member of this committee, just the wrong way to do the process. And I am vehemently opposed to doing things this way. And I will be asking everyone to oppose this bill for that reason.
Senator Marks?
Thank you, Chair. Through you, Ranking Member Vale, I hear you. I think egregious is a very strong word. I will take responsibility for this, for what happened. I am a freshman senator. I know you've been here for many, many years, but try to remember way back when you first started. I've been here 2 months now. I should have done more due diligence and spoken to the senator that introduced this bill and asked her what she wanted and that we couldn't do what she wanted to. So, you know, first 2 months, you're learning a lot. I ask you to just be kind to me and to give me some grace in this process. I did learn from my mistake, and I think it's a good bill in that it does put different ideas out there. She did speak with the Commissioner of Consumer Protection and with Commissioner Sadi, and now I believe it is a very thoughtful bill. And as I said, give me grace, and I hope that you can try to support this bill. Thank you, sir.
Senator Gordon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do share my colleague, Representative Vale's concern. As a ranking member, I didn't get this substitute language until an email evidently came out sometime this morning, pretty close to the start of this committee meeting. I do agree that the title has nothing to do with the wording, and I understand that that is a process that can be done sometimes with bills. However, I'm not certain why we would be creating a working group. We did have discussion about this bill previously, so I'm just not certain why now we need to attend to it. I have nothing against veterans' graves. I do have concerns about what we do with veterans' graves that are in private cemeteries, but nevertheless, and how that should go through a certain process. But nevertheless, I just want to raise a procedural concern, even though I understand that this is allowed to be done, but I just want to raise that concern. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator. And Senator Austin.
Thank you very much. I would ask my colleagues to support this legislation. It is about veterans' graves, a working group to come up with a policy on how to make sure all veterans' graves are maintained. It is a working group because to come up with the policies on this requires more dedication and would actually provide the clear thought and process on how this would be maintained. I sit here as someone who was a first selectman who and still am a post commander for my American Legion, asking people to understand that we have to come up with a practice and policy on how we are maintaining graves from people who served our country who no longer have family to support such a situation. And that's really what this is about. People who served our country, who are in cemeteries, and should we hold those cemetery associations who are supposed to be maintaining those cemeteries accountable in some ways to make sure that we are looking at all veterans' graves. I am sure like all of you on this committee, I go to my dad's grave every few times a year. And my dad was a veteran, and his father was a veteran, and his father before him was a veteran, and I take care of their graves. I also go to my mom's grave, and her father was a veteran, and my uncles were veterans who are buried there. And I make sure that each year there is at least a look at all of those particular graves to ensure that they are being maintained. Now, I happen to come from a large Irish Catholic family with 45 first cousins, and we actually can do all of that. But some people die without family. And should we allow those veterans who die without family to have nobody remember their name? It's why the Wreaths Across America was designed, so that we would put wreaths on on burial plots and graves of veterans and say their names out loud to remember them. And this is a part of the process to do so. So I would ask my colleagues to consider the procedural consideration and not vote on a procedural issue, but to vote on the intent of this piece of legislation, to vote on the intent of maintaining and keeping our graves for veterans who may not have the luxury of having family to do so, to have someone that would do so. And I appreciate everybody's concern about procedural benefits, but I disagree with that we would vote against something like this on a procedural benefit when we all know that the intent here is to maintain graves for veterans who don't have family that can take care of them. And I really appreciate it. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Representative Delaney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to speak in support of this policy. And while I share the good ranking members' procedural concerns administratively, I would like to wholeheartedly agree with the gentlewoman, Senator Rowston. I think that it's important to note that this is not going to be approving policy on the graves, but rather a study on what we can do to better address this issue. I have heard concerns from some of my fellow soldiers and veterans in my community, and I think it ought to pass.
Thank you. And back to Senator Marks.
Thank you, Chair. Through you, I just wanted to ensure all of the members that Chair Nolan and I did call the ranking members last night and let them know about this. So we did show respect in that way. And I too hope that it passes. Thank you, everybody.
Representative Vale.
All right, so since we're gonna talk, what was the other bill number that's taking over this bill? Does anyone have that in front of them?
You mean
The bill number, I was told, when I was called, that we were gonna open the agenda and add the bill number that was originally done. That was discussed with me, which I didn't agree with. But in screening, we all agreed that we weren't gonna move forward with that bill. We all agreed on that in screening. So why something changed between now and Thursday, I'm not sure. And procedure does matter. That's what we have here. We have a set of rules. We have a process. The process works when done properly. This is not the right way to pass legislation. And people are sick and tired of this stuff when they're back at home watching this stuff on TV. And we have a working group to discuss veterans' graves on a thing that says accreditation to military licenses for subsurface sewage disposal systems. That's not how this process works. It does matter. Feelings are great. I had 3 brothers that served in Vietnam. My father served in World War II. My grandfather served in World War I. I could go on and on. Obviously, I have passion for this because I'm on this committee as a ranking member. But there's a process to do things the right way, and this is not it. On the other bill, the DVA commissioner testified against this bill, the other bill, that's now becoming this bill. So when people look it up, this bill, now they'll look at the public hearing, and they'll see testimony that has nothing to do with this bill. Are we going to transfer all the testimony opposing the underlying issue at hand? Are we going to transfer that over so when somebody looks this bill up, it shows all the opposition to the general public? This is not the right way to do business in here. Again, let's look at that. Does someone have and I have another question. Is there anything that precludes this committee from starting a working group without legislation?
There, there obviously is a way to do it like that, but at this time, that's not the way that we're doing it.
All right. Well, I stand in strong opposition to this procedurally. It wasn't we agreed in leadership that that other bill wasn't gonna move forward. Since we're talking about what we agreed with, and we all agreed on that. So,
Well, I have to correct you because I wasn't an agreeer on that. I was in the meeting, but I was not.
well,
one of the
we agreed
agreeers on it.
as collectively,
So it failed.
collectively,
So it failed,
collectively.
but it failed because we didn't have the votes to push it through.
Yeah,
That's why it failed.
yeah.
I didn't agree to you, what you're talking about.
But I'm talking about collectively.
Well,
the
there was no
leadership.
choice in it because it failed at the.
You
time.
were the only one.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
So after that, there was further discussion. And then it was decided that it would become a working group instead of what was presented the first time.
Then why did we not open a working group on a different bill? I thought
Because-
we were going to open the agenda, which I would have been opposed to, and it would have passed. And we
Mhm.
could have passed the bill on its merit, not on a different bill.
Just as I'm sure in prior times, this was a vehicle for it to get through. So that's the vehicle it was used, whether we like it or not. That's the vehicle, the opportunity that we took to push it forward. And I understand your grievance with that. But if it fails in this committee, then it fails in this committee. But that's how we're going to do it. We're going to take a vote on it in this committee to push it through or not.
Okay.
Yes, Representative Lanu.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning. Just a quick question, if I may. First of all, I just want to make a quick comment that I absolutely wholeheartedly support the concept of preserving and protecting and maintaining veterans' graves. And I'll say that again, I wholeheartedly support the maintaining and preserving veterans' graves. That sacred ground, we need to do everything we can to preserve that. With that said, I have a question for the chair, if I may. We heard testimony we held a hearing on February 7th on SB 636, which talked about preserving and maintaining veterans' graves. That's the wheelhouse that bill was under. There was a concept on preserving and maintaining veterans' graves, SB 636. This bill we have before us, 642, it has to do with subsurface sewage disposal systems for license exams for such systems. I'm confused. If we're going to go forward with maintaining and preserving veterans' graves to get put a group together, why would that not be put into SB 636? Why are we including it in 642 and not 636?
As I said earlier, because that was the vehicle that was chosen to do so in such a manner as we are doing it now.
Why would we choose that vehicle? I'm very confused. This has nothing to do with 642, has nothing to do with maintaining veterans' graves.
Freaking out my employees here.
Again, it's the vehicle that was used to get the bill through because it was at a last moment to bring the bill back under a different under a working group. So that's what we decided to do. It's been done prior with other bills, whether it's here or on the floor or in session. Bills don't always stay the same, or they don't always come in under the same bill that there was. That's a safety net that we all know we use. And that's what happened to this. That's what happened to this time.
Right, but if we had with 636 and 642 is on essentially the same list of bills, those are all before us And I also want to make clear, I was not in the screening committee meeting. I wasn't privy to what went on there, but 636 and 642 is both on this roster. Why wouldn't we stick with 636 relating to maintaining veterans' graves and stick to 642 relating to licensing exams and fees relating to subsurface sewage disposal systems as it relates to veterans? I'm just confused why we're but why would we need to put maintaining veterans' graves into a different vehicle when that vehicle is already right in front of us with 636?
I would give you the same answer.
Okay. You know, I want to echo what Representative Veal said. I think this has nothing to do with maintaining veterans' graves. This is, I wholeheartedly support that concept. I would vote for it in a heartbeat if it was included where it should be over in 636. Or if you want to create a new bill number, I would completely entertain that. But I think we're creating a terrible precedent here. We have a different senator that introduced 642 that has absolutely nothing to do with this topic, nothing to do with this subject. And essentially we're stripping that language out and we're substituting it with something that is completely unrelated. I think it's irresponsible legislatively to do that. And I will be opposing this on the basis of a precedent on creating that slippery slope. And I would, I would encourage, if we want to resurrect 636, put that substitute language in there. I would be all for it. But what we're doing here, I think, is irresponsible, and I think it's creating a slippery slope. And I guess would like those comments noted for the record. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And if I can respond, is your slippery slope because it's the first time, or because are you trying to say it's the first time that that's been done?
Well, I don't. One time is one time too many. This is not how we should be conducting business. We had a hearing where we're having people come in to comment on bills, to submit testimony on bills that are before us. 642 was heard relating to subsurface sewage disposal systems. 636 was heard related to maintaining veterans' graves. It should remain that way. And that's what we need to do. And creating a slippery slope, again, one time is too many. I don't know how many times we've done this, but this is bad business. This is not what the people are calling for. And I strongly object to what we're doing here today, that this is irresponsible.
Thank you, sir. Sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. How are you this morning?
I'm always great. Thank you.
Excellent. Glad to hear. Things are certainly a little heated here this
Oh,
morning.
I don't consider them heated. I consider it
They're
a friendly debate.
They're a little elevated. We can say that. And a lot of valid points made. This is my 7th year in the legislature. Not as much as many others, and certainly more than some. The concern I see is with those who were offered the opportunity of public hearing. We have a duty to the general public on a concept that they had the opportunity to come speak on. And we have a couple of pieces of written testimony on the original bill before it was changed. Would more have shown up for this underlying concept now in the new bill? Quite possibly. So to me, it's not about how good the new piece of this would be. And it's not just hey, it's a whoops, or it's a clerical error. It's a large piece of what we've seen here. I've also, as you mentioned earlier, Mr. Chair, about this done on the House floor, and I've stood up in opposition to that on the House floor when it's not germane to the title or intent of what the bill is. I think there is a duty that we have as legislators to maintain the rules that we have set forward. And I think possibly moreover in this committee, to honor that sense of duty that we have as legislators to do things properly. It doesn't mean that people don't support the bill. I think an error was made, and I think there are consequences to errors. We hold it back. This would be my 2 cents for what it's worth, and I know it's probably worth about that. But I think what we need to do is is approach things properly. We need to set that bar high for everyone involved. So when this hits the House floor, people don't question that the title has nothing to do with the underlying bill. The people who came out to speak or didn't speak have that right. And this is us taking that out of the people's hands. And quite frankly, as you know, we refer to the House as the people's house. I don't know what the Senate calls the Senate, but we're the people's house. That was a little joke. We're the people's house. If we're not putting it before the people first, before we make decisions, it's shame on us. We have an opportunity to correct this before it goes forward. And I think that we should do the right thing in this situation and pass on this until it can be straightened out and put forward properly. I think doing things right should be our very first priority in how we get things done. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, sir. Representative Ferraro.
I've been listening to the conversation here since it started. This is my 8th year on this committee, and I've never seen the committee divided before like this. It's usually pretty straightforward for veterans. The ranking member has raised a great point. I see this as, some call it a slippery slope, but I call it as it's a procedure that if we allow now could cascade in the future into other maybe less emotionally heart-pulling issues like veterans' graves. And I think everybody on this committee is in 100% agreement that taking care of and maintaining veterans' graves is a priority. But it's been clearly articulated by my colleagues that this is the wrong procedure to go through. And it's not a very difficult, I'm really surprised because, the resiliency of this committee over the years, to come back and fix this later properly, it's not a big ask and not a big deal. So I would just say, for the purpose of keeping the, things in an integritous manner, let's table this bill and, let's figure out a way we can make the bill come forward. We all agree with the concept in a way that's in agreement with the committee, with not only the leadership of the committee, but the rank and file on the committee. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, sir. Senator Gordon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't have anything about the merits of the bill per se. I do, like my colleagues said, support maintaining and honoring veterans' graves. But I do want to raise, again, a concern about the process. I do appreciate Senator Marks having notified me about this change last night, and I do thank her for that. I did not, however, get handed any substitute language until I saw an email that came out this morning, soon before this committee's meeting. So I do agree with what my colleagues have been saying with regards to a process and a procedure. Again, it has nothing in my mind to do with the merit of the bill. I just think there should be a process we should follow, and that we should be open to the public with regards to that, having heard testimony from public during public hearings that this committee has done, I think, well. So I just want to raise that concern. I think there is a way we can try to deal with this and make certain, number one, that a title matches the substance. I think there should be truth in advertising in that regard. But again, I don't have anything against the merit per se, just the process and the procedure and the timing. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Representative Moore.
Thank you, Representative Nolan. Just a couple of thoughts. I understand the concern about the process and the procedures. Just to Representative Buckby's point, I understand what you're saying about public testimony. If I looked at 636 and I saw 50 people were against and 2 people were for, I would have a challenge with that. But when I look at the public hearing testimony for 636, there was 13 that testified, 11 that were in support, and the only opposition, surprisingly, was our Commissioner of Veterans Affairs. So I'm not appalled that we're taking a bill that had a lot of opposition and putting it into this. So I'm comfortable with, oh, yeah, what Senator Austin said. So I'm comfortable with that public testimony. And then we've spent a lot of time talking about procedure, but I'm hearing those that are opposed because of procedure, but support the concept of the bill. So I'm curious, because I also heard in screening, there was an agreement not to move the bill forward. So putting the procedure aside and just focusing on the language, is there support for the concept of this bill? Why was the language of this bill determined or suggested not to move forward? Because we're either saying we support the concept or we're not saying we support the concept. So I'm just curious.
Representative Vale.
So the concept changed also from the original bill. There were specifics in the original bill. This moved to create a working group. So it wasn't, there was big fiscal notes attached to it, so we weren't sure what the proper plan was. So the change, we could have changed within that bill if we were going to make it a working group. But we didn't. So there's still changes from that bill to what this bill is.
Thank you.
Representative
So I just want to make sure I'm understanding. So there is no opposition to the concept.
Of the working group.
All right, thank you.
Senator Zuccarello.
Thank you. I apologize. I'm not able to be there today, so I'm listening in remotely. So we're talking about a bill that was put forward to address a problem that some municipalities are having with water treatment facilities. And now we're talking about another bill that is of concern, and there are very valid points that were discussed during the public hearings. But I'm just trying to articulate the original purpose of the bill. And I understand that for some reason it wasn't supposed to come out. But I just want to get an understanding, or if I have to maybe answer any questions, so we could explain what the original bill was intended for. You know, numerous municipalities came to me just within my district and explained the shortage of trained professionals that could handle these type of facilities. And more it's getting important with, you know, the quality of our drinking water and being able to address these issues. There are individuals that are coming out of the armed forces with the experience that build these in the middle of nowhere. And we could really utilize that. So I just wanted to articulate the purpose of the original bill. I understand it's amended in some way from an issue that I think is also very valid, but I want to understand the main purpose of the bill and just articulate that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I don't know if many of you understand that one of the reasons that we did it this way also was because of I believe the deadline in regards to being able to get a bill across. But I think I don't know if everybody understands that the bill language, the title in regards to it will change once this is ready to go. I'll let Mike, can you explain that part, please?
Sure. If the question, forgive me, I stepped away briefly. If the question is, why didn't we use the original 636? I mean, again, that's a question for the committee, but procedurally, the deadline for the committee to have voted to draft that proposed bill as a committee bill, as a fully drafted statutory committee bill, that deadline has passed. So 636 as a vehicle is dead. The committee did choose to insert this content into another bill. Senate Bill 642 as a vehicle was still available to it. I won't opine on why the committee chose which bill over which other one, but to the extent that 642 was an available vehicle, that is what allowed for this procedure to occur. And just for purposes of clarification, I know that there is a disconnect between the content and the title. The title will change when if it moves forward, if it comes upstairs for processing as a favorable report, the title will change at that time.
Thank you. And Representative Ferraro.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Could somebody point out to me where the LCO is in the system? Because can't seem to find it in the system.
One second, sir. You want just the number?
It's a different number than what's on the paper here. It's not LCO 5621. I'm sorry, not 5621. Where is it here? Yeah, 5621. But that's not in the system.
I don't think that it's in the system until after the fact. Yes, Senator Austin. I'm sorry, Representative Poulos.
Yeah, so thank you, Mr. Chair. What I'm hearing here, and I'm also 2 months in, is that everyone around the circle here is in favor of the concept of a working group. I'm hearing that because of deadlines, drafting deadlines, this was the vehicle that this legislation, the concept that we all agree with, is being moved forward. And I'm hearing now that the title of this concept, the title of this bill, will change to match what everyone's in support of if it goes from here to the chamber floor for a vote. I just want to confirm that all of that is accurate.
Yes, sir.
So then it makes sense to me that if we're all in favor of this concept and the title is going to change, if there's anything wrong with it, the entire House will vote it down if the majority doesn't want it. But if this is what we feel needs to be done with Graves, then I think, and the testimony was 11 in favor and 2 opposed, I think we have to move this forward. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Representative Val.
So again, we talked about offline opening up the agenda to add 636. It already is that was off the table?
636, I don't think we would have been able to add, if I'm not mistaken.
Is that your?
That is correct. 636, the deadline to vote it fully, or to draft it fully, has passed. So that vehicle is unfortunately dead.
All right, well, my position hasn't changed. If that language, if I'm voting no, because the language in front of me, we took Senator Chicarella's bill and turned it into Senator Cohen's bill. 2 totally different concepts. I do not believe in this process. I do believe in the process, not this one. In my time here, I've not experienced that in leadership on this committee. I will be voting against it. Again, if the language, if the title changes and it comes in front of me on the House floor, maybe I'll reconsider at that time, as long as the language looks okay. But as of right now, I'm still opposed to this.
Thank you. And Mike, just one more question. This title cannot be changed to fit the bill until we vote on it. Is that correct?
Correct. At this point in time, the vehicle is Senate 642 with its current title as it appears on the system. if the committee moves forward with favorably voting this substitute language, when it comes up for favorable processing to our office, it will receive a new title.
So understanding what many of you are saying, but the only way for us to get this bill through is to vote on it in order to change the name to the actual title of the bill. Representative Buckby.
Thank you for the second time. I appreciate it, Mr. Chair. I hear my good colleagues across the way are saying as well. My concern is when Senator Ciccarella did speak, he spoke about how his constituents had talked to him about why this was important. So it's not so much about putting in something that's important that people are agreeing with, but we're stripping some out. Am I correct? Am I correct in assuming that, Mr. Chair?
I'm sorry, stripping what out?
The initial intent of 642 is then gone. So that one that did have support was a constituent concern that came to Senator Ciccarella. That bill is now completely gone. And this one takes its place. I'm just saying that we've lost a concept that was supported and then had gotten to this point until, I guess, this morning when the rest of the language came in, that had been supported by leadership, I'm assuming as well. Again, I'm not leadership, but you guys would have approved the bills that would have come to committee today. So 642, the way it sat, was approved and moved forward. It was not.
It didn't come out. I don't believe 642 came out of.
The subsurface sewage disposal system never was initially agreed upon by leadership.
Mike, did that make it out of session, screening? I don't.
I mean, I don't want to speak to what happens behind the closed doors. The committee did decide to draft the bill. It did receive a hearing. Our office doesn't want to opine on what happens after.
I appreciate that. Thank you. I'm not looking to put anybody in a tough spot. I'm just saying it was agreed to. We drafted the bill. It came forward. There's a lot of work put into it in agreement with the initial concept. I'm just curious why this other piece wasn't done as an amendment that we could put forward later on, that we could put into another bill. That seems to be the more acceptable process that we're used to within what we do. But I'm just curious why that wasn't considered, so we both could stay alive.
Okay. I don't believe that bill made it through screening. So that is why that bill did not stay alive.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Senator Marks.
No, that's all I was going to say, Chair. That was all I was going to say.
Thank you. Representative Val.
Well, neither did the underlying concept didn't make it through screening either. So it's kind of not a great point. As far as 642 goes. I don't know. I'm just very disheartened with this particular process, but I think it's time we just vote.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, can I would ask for a roll call vote, please.
Yes, ma'am. At this time, Dallas, if we can do a roll call vote.
This vote is on SB 642, an act crediting military training and experience towards certain licenses related to subsurface sewage disposal systems to JFS to the floor, LCO 5621. Senator Marks,
Yes. Senator Marks says yes.
Representative Nolan,
Rep. Nolan, yes.
Representative Delaney,
Representative Delaney votes in the affirmative.
Senator Maroney, Senator Gordon,
Senator Gordon votes no.
Representative Vale,
Representative Vale votes no.
Representative Anderson,
No.
Representative Borer,
Representative Boer votes yes.
Representative Boyd, Representative Buckby,
Buckby is a no.
Senator Ciccarella, Representative DiGiovancarlo,
Rep. DiGiovancarlo, yes.
Representative Ferraro,
Representative Ferraro, no.
Senator Flexer,
Senator Flexer votes yes.
Representative Lanu, Representative McGee,
McGee votes yes.
Senator Austin,
Senator Austin votes in the affirmative.
Representative Poulos,
Representative Poulos votes yes.
Representative Santos, Senator Winfield.
Senator Winfield, in the affirmative.
Thank you, Dallas. Votes for this will be held open until 1 o'clock. All right, moving forward to number 4, SB 643, an act concerning a review of municipal option tax relief for veterans. This bill requires the Office of Legislative Research to prepare a report by January 1st, 2024 that lists for each municipality the property tax relief program for veterans, 2, the exemption or abatement amounts, 3, qualifying income threshold for relief, 4, mill rate, 5, grand list, and 6, medium home value. Motion to JF this to the floor.
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion? No discussion? Representative Vale?
I'd move to put that on the consent calendar.
Move to consent calendar without objection. So move. Number 5, we're going to move to number 5, SB 1128. An act concerning certain property tax exemptions for veterans. This bill increases the property tax exemption amounts that municipalities must or may provide to certain veterans. Motion to JFS this to appropriations. Seconded.
Second.
All those in favor? I'm sorry. Representative Vale.
So is this a mandate
It is,
on our municipalities?
it is not.
Okay, and it's being sent to approach because there will be, wouldn't there be there would be a potential cost to municipalities. Are we gonna offset that cost? Is
Yes,
that the intention? Is that why it's going to appropriations?
That is the intention.
Okay. All right, thank you. I move that we add that item to the consent agenda.
Move to the consent agenda if there's no objections. So move.
Well, Mr. Chair, I will just confirm for the committee and for the public that LCO number is number 5647 for that JFS motion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
LCO number 5647, just for record. Thank you. Next is SB 1131. An act concerning veteran specialty license plates and driver's license for certain former members of the National Guard. This bill authorizes members of the National Guard discharged under conditions other than dishonorable or their spouses to qualify for a veteran's license plate and a veteran's designation on his or her identification. Motion to JFS this to the floor.
Senator Marks, so moved.
Thank you. Discussion? Senator, Representative Vale?
So it's my understanding that the JFS language would include the reserves in this as well. I know that was a recommendation that Commissioner Sadi had made.
You are correct, sir.
Okay, thank you. And with that, I would move that we add that to the consent agenda.
Representative Bohr?
Yes, thank you so much. Representative Nolan, I just want to acknowledge that it took a couple of years to pass the bill regarding the veterans license plate. And we heard so much from those from the National Guard or the reserves that they would like the opportunity to be able to qualify as well because of their service. And I wholeheartedly agree. and we'll be supporting this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Move to consent calendar without objection. So moved. Next one will be SB 1132. And I'm sorry, oh, you didn't need the LCO language for that, right? Yes. The LCO number 5649. Okay. Number 7, SB 1132, an act excluding veterans' disability payments from income for purpose of eligibility for certain state benefits.
Motion.
Motion to JF. So moved. Motion to and seconded. Discussion. Representative Moore, I'm sorry.
Thank you so much. I just want to say how important this bill is. I get so many constituents who are veterans that miss the opportunity for the benefits at the state level because they're $50 over, $25 over because of their disability. That gets counted in. And these are veterans who are disabled. So they are the ones that are most vulnerable in need of the state services. So to restrict them from having the state services because of the disability payments that they receive from the federal government for serving our country, just doesn't make sense to me. So I'm really glad we're doing this bill finally, and we'll be supporting it. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
I'd like to move that we place this item on consent calendar.
Move to consent calendar.
Mr. Chair, could we get the LCO number on that?
Sorry, 5640, sorry. And in case no one heard, it's 5048, HB 5048, and that concerning the fees for veterans specialty license plates requires that veterans and members of the armed forces be charged no fee for specified veterans license plates. Move to JFS this to the floor.
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion, Representative Vale.
So it's my understanding with the JFS language that we are going to reduce that fee by 50%. Is that correct?
That is correct, sir.
All right. And with that said, I move that we add that to the consent agenda.
Move to the consent agenda without objection. Number 9, HB 5511, an act establishing a personal income tax deduction for home care costs for veterans. This bill establishes a personal income tax credit for up to $60,000 a year for a full-time home care costs paid by or incurred for a veteran. Veterans and those related by blood, adoption, or marriage are eligible. Move to JF this to the floor.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? No. Representative Vale.
I move that we add that to the consent agenda.
Move to the consent agenda if there is no objections. So move. Number 10 will be HB 6001, an act concerning an indication of motor vehicle operators license and identity cards for Gold Star family members. This bill authorizes the immediate family member of a Connecticut resident who was killed in action while on active service to receive a designation on their driver's license or identification card of such status. Move to JF to the floor.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Representative Bell.
Yeah, I know someone in my caucus was concerned that there would be a fee associated with that gold star. I just went on the record that there wouldn't be. Is
There
that
would be,
correct?
that's correct, sir.
All right, and with that, I will move that we add this to the consent agenda.
Okay, we'll add it to the consent agenda if there's no objection. So move. HB 6004, an act eliminating service in time of war as an eligibility criterion for certain veteran benefits. Move to JF to the floor.
So move.
Seconded. Any discussion? Representative Delaney, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would just like to point out that one of the groups of veterans that this bill will most heavily affect will be our female veterans serving in uniform. Many of them who have served in dangerous situations, you know, domestically and abroad, may be ineligible for these benefits before the enactment of this language because they were not able to serve in combat units. And as a U.S. Army soldier and sergeant who has been trained by some excellent female soldiers, I stand in strong support of this bill.
Representative Ferraro.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I just have one question regarding this bill. Has the definition for veteran been changed? I'm just curious. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so this bill only addresses without change who were considered veterans before, but who did not serve in a time of war. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Would the population of the new group being covered by benefits be considered large in our state? Through you.
Considered, well, everybody has their own.
No. Is it a large population that we're going to be increasing benefits to? I'm looking at the fiscal note and wondering if it needs to go to appropriations.
I don't think that was a discussion, sir.
Okay, so my question is, it says some benefits or certain veteran benefits. So depending on what those benefits are, and depending on what size of this population is being served, that could be very sizable. And
Okay, I misunderstood what you're saying.
Huh?
Mike, is that something that was looked at? Did we, I don't know if we put a number on it when we talked about it.
I will say, hi, Jessica Muller. I will say the bill does actually specify which programs that would remove that eligibility requirement for, and those are listed in all our screening notes. But I don't believe there was testimony that actually specifically listed how many veterans this would expand the benefits to. However, by law, how wartime period is defined, we've been in a wartime period for an extended time, actually since I believe the 1990s. So I would say that it would be impacting those who served prior to 1990. So to the extent the population of veterans that are in the state of Connecticut who did not serve in a wartime period prior to 1990 are the ones who would be primarily affected.
thank you, Mr. Chair.
Representative Buckby.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to echo the comments of the good vice chair on recognizing women in service, as well as I was with my father down in the West Haven VA, and overheard him speaking with some other colleagues as he served in Japan between Korea and Vietnam. And to hear these gentlemen who are aging seniors who are having a tough time. And when you figure they signed up while we were involved in Korea and we're signing up for the same duty, I think this is a fair recognition for those who served many years back that haven't gotten the same benefits across the board. So I think there's a lot to this, and I think it is the right step for us to do, and certainly be supporting this bill. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Anybody else? No. Representative Val?
I'd move that we add that to the consent agenda.
Move to the consent agenda if there's no objection. And number 11 seems to be our final bill, Dallas.
This vote is on the consent agenda. SB 634, an act concerning municipal veteran services, JF to appropriations. SB 638, an act concerning a fee waiver at public institutions of higher education for certain veterans and members of the National Guard, JF to the floor. SB 643, an act concerning a review of municipal option tax relief for veterans, JF to the floor. SB 1128, an act concerning certain property tax exemptions for veterans, JFS to appropriations, LCO number 5647. SB 1131, an act concerning veterans specialty license plates and driver's licenses for certain former members of the National Guard, JFS to the floor, LCO 5649. SB 1132, an act excluding veterans' disability payments from income for purposes of eligibility for certain state benefits, JF to the floor. HB 5048, an act concerning the fees for veterans' specialty license plates, JFS to the floor, LCO 5640. HB 5511, an act establishing a personal income tax deduction for home care costs for veterans, JF to the floor. HB 6001, an act concerning an indication on motor vehicle operators' licenses and identity cards for Gold Star family members, JF to the floor. HB 6004, an act eliminating service in time of war as an eligibility criterion for certain veterans' benefits, JF to the floor. Senator Marks,
Senator Marks votes yes.
Representative Nolan,
No. Representative Nolan in the affirmative.
Representative Delaney,
Representative Delaney in the affirmative.
Senator Maroney, Senator Gordon, Representative Vale,
Yes.
Representative Anderson,
Yes.
Representative Boer,
Yes.
Representative Boyd, Representative Buckby,
Yes.
Senator Chicarella, Representative DeGiancarlo,
Rep. DiGiancarlo votes yes.
Representative Ferraro,
Yes.
Senator Flexer,
Senator Flexer votes yes.
Representative Lanu, Representative McGee,
Representative McGee votes yes.
Senator Austin, Representative Poulos,
Yes.
Representative Santos, Senator Winfield. Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chairman, this is Senator Gordon. I'm back on. If I'm happy to vote if you want me to.
Dallas.
Your vote on the consent calendar, Senator Gordon, did you
Se-
hear the bills on it?
Yeah, Senator Gordon votes yes.
prior to us leaving, I wanted to give Representative Moore an opportunity to.
Thank you so much, Representative Nolan. First of all, thank you all for your leadership on this committee. It's been, today was, a little challenging, but for the most part, it's been very smooth. And I want to thank you all and thank you to the staff. I am making a motion to adjourn, but I would just ask that before, after we adjourn, but before you leave, if you could all just take 2 minutes. We have Robert Silverberg here, who has been the leader in Save a Suit, which is something that our committee has supported a lot in the past. And he would just like to take 2 minutes after we adjourn to address us. Thank you.
Just to clarify, is the intent to recess until the time set forth for 1 PM?
Yes.
So we're gonna recess until 1, and we'll bring this nice wearing tie gentleman forward.
Mr. Chair, I believe we need a second on the motion to recess.
Second.
There we go. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Representative Nolan, Representative Vale, members of the committee. Thank you for allotting me just a couple of minutes to talk about Save a Suit. For the record, my name is Robert Silverberg. I'm the managing partner of Morris London. Save a Suit is a nonprofit organization that donates gently used professional men's and women's clothing to veterans who cannot afford it, so that these veterans actually have the opportunity to go on job interviews. This is something I've been involved in for a number of years. It is a way that I pay it forward. Gratefully, this started under Representative Hennessy, Representative Ferraro, and it really did take off. I'd like to credit Representative Borer. In 2019, we set a record. We had a total of a little over 5,000 donated gently used professional clothing and raised over $3,000. The Max Restaurant Group has a charity known as the Max Cares Foundation. The Max Cares Foundation has donated $2,500 because these suits need to be tailored for these veterans, cleaned and shipped to them. We would like to do this again. I have approached the board for the Max Cares Foundation. I have spoken to the Save a Suit organization. They would like to once again have Save a Suit Day at the Capitol. And I will get a final answer from the Max Cares Foundation on their support. But I just wanted to thank you for the opportunity to once again come up to committee, bring this issue to your board, and hope that it can once again be successful. Thank you.
It's possible to vote.
Hi, Senator Winfield. How are you? I believe you're on mute currently.
After all that, I can unmute.
We just need to vote for you on the consent calendar. Which were you here for my reading of which bills are on that?
I was, and then I stepped away for a second, and I was like, "Boy, that went fast." Senator Winfield in the affirmative.
All right. Thank you so much. You're all set.
You. Bye-bye.
Have a great day. Bye.
Okay, all right, thank you. Hello?
Hi, Senator Shikara. How are you?
Good, how are you?
I am doing very well. So I have two votes I'm missing from you. The first is on SB 642, an act crediting military training and experience towards certain licenses related to subsurface sewage disposal systems, JFS to the 4 LCO number 5621.
Yeah, the language of the bill doesn't say anything about the title, right? All right, I'm a no on that. Senator Bill votes no.
All right, and then we have the consent calendar, which is SB 634, an act concerning municipal veteran services, JFK appropriations, SB 638, an act concerning waiver of public institutions of higher education for certain veterans and members of the National Guard, JFK 4, SB 643, an act concerning a review of municipal option tax relief for veterans, JF to the 4, SB 1128, an act concerning certain property tax exemptions for veterans, JFS to appropriations, LCO 5647, SB 1131, an act concerning veterans specialty license plates and driver's licenses for certain former members of the National Guard, JFS 4 LCO 5649, SB 1132, an act excluding veterans disability payments from income for purposes of eligibility for certain state benefits, JF 4, HB 5048, an act concerning the fees for veteran specialty license plates, JFS for LCO 5640. HB 5511, an act establishing a personal income tax deduction for home care costs for veterans, JF to the 4. HB 6001, an act concerning an indication on motor vehicle operators licenses and identity cards for Gold Star family members, JF to the 4. HB 6004, an act eliminating service in time of war as an eligibility criterion for certain veterans benefits, JF to the 4.
Excellent, thank you. And I vote yes.
Wonderful. You are all set.
Thank you so much.
Have a great day.
You as well, bye-bye.
Bill Representative, how are you?
Good. Let me pull up the agenda.
Excellent. So the first bill that we have for you is SB 642, an act crediting military training and experience towards certain licenses related to subsurface sewage disposal systems. That's a JFS to the 4 LCO 5621. If you weren't already made aware, there were some pretty significant changes to the character of the bill in the substitute language. If you want me to get into them at all, I can.
It was amended on the floor or ended in the committee?
So there was substitute language basically to.
Was it a verbal amendment or is there something written?
There was substitute language offered before the agenda was created. That basically I can only get into it so much, but from my knowledge of it, I can also bring an LCO if you want a real.
No. Was that so? It wasn't the language we were provided then?
It was the language that I emailed to you this morning.
Okay.
That was
All right.
that's the language.
All right. Yeah. As long as I didn't know if it was amended on the fly. No,
No.
I'll be a yes for that.
Okay. And then we have SB 634, an act concerning municipal veteran services, JF2 appropriations. If you have the agenda, I can just read off the numbers.
Yeah, just read the bill number. You don't have to. I got this in front of me. So you don't need to read off the.
SB 68 to JF to the 4, and then item number 4, SB 643, JF to the 4, SB 1128, JFS to appropriations, LCO 5647, SB 1131, JFS to the 4, LCO 5649, SB 1132, JF to the 4, HB 5048, JFS to the 4, LCO 5640, HB 5511, JF to the 4, HB 6001, JF to the 4, and HB 6004, JF to the 4.
And that was all in a consent calendar? All right. Yes.
All right. Thank you so much. You're all set.
All right. Thank you. See you.
Have a great day.